Think about it, Necros. He gets sent back in time to make a new reality, a new timeline, the child timeline. So anybody who quote unquote died is alive at this point, but he can't tell anybody what happened. So it can't be Saria. Saria is either going to die or she's just going to disappear with the rest of the Kokiri in the child timeline. It can't be Zelda because Link literally left the kingdom for an unknown amount of time. That leaves Malon, the ranch girl. And there's a lot of ideas that and theories and leanings that could lean into that, because if the Kokiri Forest is now abandoned at that point, remember, Great Deku Tree died, and the Deku Sprout never came forth in the child timeline, so there is no Deku Tree anymore. Kokiri Forest is now empty. Link and Malon can now have a family and move, Malon's father Talon and anybody else into the Kokiri Forest. Turn that into the Ordana province, and then Ordon town, and then boom, there you go. You got the backstory for Twilight Princess as the kingdom is moving a little bit more north instead of being centralized in the middle of the kingdom. There you go. It would also explain how Epona in, Twilight Princess is the literal horse descendant of Epona from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. What's even more funny about that is Epona is literally called the Horse of Legend in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And you can't rename her. Plus, because it is canon that after Link came back from his many adventures after, Majora's Mask, he came back to an utterly ruined Hyrule, and then found out about the Gerudo-Hylian War, where literally the Gerudo attacked the Hylians, slash Zora, slash, Goron, etc. Because of that war, hundreds upon thousands of people died. Misplaced. And it was said that Lun Lun Ranch was used as a bastion of sorts, almost like a garrison for soldiers and citizens alike. Just like in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you have the Akala Citadel and a couple other places like the old Hyrule Garrison ruins, which used to be a town and an outpost and all that for civilians and soldiers alike. Now, you could put that same effect into Lun Lun Ranch because a majority of the kingdom's horses and all of that would be at Lun Lun Ranch, and if it got ransacked, plus if it was a base for the Hylian army, then you put two and two together and they can't live there. So basically Link was gone, and because he was gone, he couldn't save Hyrule. Yeah, that's exactly right. The only person he could tell what happened was the King of Hyrule. He comes to Zelda for the first time in the child timeline, but his second time ever in his life. Tells her, hey, before you tell me anything, your dream's right. Ganondorf's gonna betray the kingdom. I have the proof. I came from literally the future via an alternate timeline. I'm here to tell you that you're fucked. They lock up Ganondorf, and Link is literally told, hey, here's the Ocarina of Time. Leave the kingdom so Ganondorf cannot win. Okay. Which still fucked them up no matter what. So. Yeah, going through the deep lore and all that is Zelda is always fun, because it's just endless bloodshed. You just made me think of Bardock's story, fish people saying I could see the future. Well, it wouldn't be the Zora who would say that. That would be the Sheikah. Like Impa and Purah and Aya, Abi, people like that, you know? The Sheikah are the ones who have the foresight to see the future. AKA the builders of Kakariko Town, or Kakariko Village. As I quote Danny Sexbang from Game Grumps, Kakariko Nukanaka Village. Boom. Because Link knows what's gonna happen. Yeah, he says, yeah, he knows what's gonna happen if he doesn't warn them and they don't take it seriously. Yeah. Because the whole thing is, you know, Zelda's father, King of Hyrule, wouldn't believe her on her dream about quote-unquote dark clouds and that being Ganondorf, and he was like, oh, no worries, Ganondorf's now an ally and he's sworn fealty to us. But it's also the other thing of Ocarina of Time very well could be within the loop, and what I mean by that is Ocarina of Time and the entire timeline happens, but the timeline itself is within its own contained loop. What I'm saying by that is anything after Skyward Sword and before Breath of the Wild, so basically Minish Cap all the way to the 3 timelines, they're within the loop, which you can call a dreamscape or multiple trials for Ganondorf and the goddesses to test each other of how will this big bad rematch happen? So realistically, the timeline is Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and all of the other games between Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, you could say, are literal dreams that are real. Just like what happened with Link's Awakening and Koholint Island at the very end. When you see it disappear, you realize, oh, the island was a dream, but it was real the whole time. Because then you realize, if I didn't wake up the Windfish, then yeah, Koholint would still be there, but you were the Windfish. But the Windfish also, like, I'm not going to go into the deep semantics about that, but if you played the game, then you at least kind of get it, you know? Okay, so chest over there. So nutshell mindfuck. Yeah. And you gotta be pretty goddamn crazy or pretty goddamn big brain to understand the loops, the turns, the knots, and all that. Like, I don't really understand quantum science or quantum. I never took a physics class. I never took a trigonometry. I took at most geometry and algebra. And that's the most of my math skill. And my science, I never took chemistry, never had to take anything like that. So the only maximum thing I have is something called physical science, but that's not physics. So essentially what I'm getting at is I'm not very well versed in the smarts. But when it comes to figuring out this stuff, it comes naturally. I don't know how to explain it. It's like if I watch Doctor Who, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I get it. If I watch like Marvel time loop stuff, like I get it. But I don't know how to explain it like in the actual scientific terms and stuff. That's why I talk to like other theorists. Because we just bounce back and forth. No, I was trying to get it before it stopped. Oh well. Aha! Me smart. Me smarter than you. Fuck, that actually did kind of sound like Homer now, didn't it? Oh, Marge. 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 Anyway, I'm gonna stop because it's getting more and more Homerish. Marge. Fuck. Multiverse theory, etc. Technically, action different time was made. One time of action before another. Yeah, yeah. Or I could give it to you in the real simple Ophi term. Ready? Every decision you make in life has an outcome, even the ones you don't make. So, like, if you were asked, do you want apple pie or cherry pie? And you pick apple pie, even though you did not pick cherry pie at that moment, there is still a alternate parallel existence in which you picked the cherry pie instead of apple pie. Just because you decided something doesn't mean that the other decision is null void. It still exists. Even if you yourself didn't pick an option, it's still there. So, like, for instance, I pulled an all-nighter unexpectedly last night. I was up all fucking night again, right? Did not sleep. But there is a reality where I did sleep last night instead, and I'm not live right now. And then you take an you just take an infinite amount of that. You branch that off an infinite amount of times where just even the smallest alteration to that choice still affects everything in the end. Butterfly effect, you know, stuff like that. I'm a smart oaf. Smart necros sometimes. Yeah, same. There you go. Don't have to waste any ammo. Oh, you butt licker. You did not want to fall down there. Yeah, no. Yeah, neither did I.